In this morning's Health Watch, a court fight over human embryos. 3 months ago, a St. Louis woman using a pair of adopted embryos gave birth to twins. Now the donor family wants 2 other embryos returned, sparking a very unique custody battle. CBS News correspondent Kelly Wallace reports.
Jen McLaughlin considers 12-week-old Anna and Sarah her miracles. The 39-year-old who couldn't have children adopted 5 kids, 4 from Russia and 1 from Missouri, before reading about embryo adoption.
I was like, this is perfect. You know, I'll have the opportunity to be pregnant in addition to, once again, giving a child that needs a home, a home.
On a website, she located a California couple who wanted to donate 4 frozen embryos. In a contract signed by McLaughlin and the California couple, the embryos were described as preborn children who are entitled to the rights and protection accorded to all children, legally and morally.
We believe that life begins at conception, so we really felt like we were adopting two babies.
2 embryos were left over, embryos McLaughlin wants to use to give birth again because she considers them Anna and Sarah's siblings. But last month, the donor mom notified McLaughlin she wanted to give the embryos to another family and is demanding them back today. McLaughlin's hired a lawyer to prove she has a legal right to keep them and expand her family. Kelly Wallace, CBS News, New York.
Joining us now exclusively this morning is Jen McLaughlin with her attorney Albert Watkins and her beautiful twins. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jen, Anna, and Sarah are so gorgeous. Congratulations first off on their birth.
Thank you.
I know that this was the first time that you were able to be pregnant on your own. You have 5 other adopted children, but this is the first time you gave birth to babies. How has embryo adoption changed your life?
Well, from the very beginning, when I first read about it on Thanksgiving morning, I've considered this a huge blessing. Even today is a huge blessing as well. I never thought that we would get to this point. I never wanted to get to this point, but I'm looking at this as a blessing as well. It's brought my family, we were a very close family, and it's brought us even closer. So I consider this just an additional blessing.
So you have these 2 beautiful twins
Exactly.
you just gave birth to. You have the 5 other adopted children. You
Correct.
and your family have 7 children now. Why is it so important to have the 2 other embryos?
It's so important to me because they're Sarah and Anna's genetic siblings. They're also my children's, my other adopted children's biological siblings. And my understanding of entering into the contract was that we were given these 4 embryos, which I considered frozen children, frozen in time, and to take on all legal and moral and ethical, to take accountability for them from when they're frozen and as long as I live. And that's my intention, and that's what I want to do. And I believe that as a society, we firmly believe that siblings should be kept together. To the best of my knowledge, every state in the United States fights for siblings that end up in the foster care system to keep them together, if at all possible, and also to find an adoptive family together. In addition to that, this isn't the first time that I fought for siblings. I wasn't in a fighting situation legally. The Russian government worked with me to unite my second oldest son, Patrick, with his biological brother that was living in Russia that he had never met.
Right. So this is obviously keeping siblings, biological siblings together is something
Correct.
important to you. But I want to talk about the legal aspect of this and bring in Mr. Watkins.
Thank you.
So just so everyone understands, Mr. Watkins, Jen signed a contract when she adopted the 4 embryos stating that by today, that contract expires today, and she would essentially give up her rights to unused embryos. So does she have a case here? Because legally, after today, they're no longer her embryos.
Well, actually, legally, they are her embryos. The contract does not expire. There's a provision in the contract that permits the donor couple, after 1 year, to seek and request control over the disposition of those embryos.
Which is the same thing, essentially. She loses custody, essentially, if the donor family chooses, beginning today.
No, however, the underlying provision was prepared and incorporated into that contract as part of a methodology designed to maintain the fundamental tenets of very conservative Christians or Catholics. And not go against church doctrine. The thought process was, if there are embryos left after the embedding process, that those embryos cannot last or endure forever in this cryopreserved state. In essence, everybody has a chance to live, and under this contract, these are living beings. Everybody knows that. What wasn't contemplated was that Jen would be successfully embedded right off the bat with two of the embryos, which then necessarily precluded, because you can't embed in a pregnant woman, necessarily precluded her from being able to utilize the remaining 2 embryos during that 1-year period. She is not she's in a postpartum state right now.
Okay.
She is not medically in a condition to have those additional children that happen to be A, live beings under the terms of the contract, and B, siblings of these children that have been born.
Right. So it's a complicated case, unprecedented one, which the court will now decide. We
have to remember, these are not
Mr.
these
Watkins,
are not
I'm
children.
sorry that's all the time we have.
That's fine. Thank
we will
you.
continue to follow the story. Jen, thank you as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
A lot happens early on The Early Show, weekday mornings on CBS.